And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough starts now.
All right, everybody, welcome in. As you can see, I'm filling in for Preston. Baby was born this morning, and congrats to Preston and his beautiful wife, Alyssa, on a new baby girl. And got a lot to talk about on tonight's show. And yeah. All right. Hit the like button if you're going to enjoy this one. And got, of course, our usual guest co-host on Monday night, Zack Nagy, with us of Sports Illustrated. And I tell you what I'm going to do, Zack. I'm going to let you, instead of me rolling it out and letting you comment, I'm going to let you give us your thoughts on where you think this stands right now on Monday with an alleged announcement on Saturday after the Egg Bowl, where everything stands now, and where you think it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a saga. I think the best way to put it, that's like the only word that I can use. And I cover this thing from both angles, Mike. I do a lot of stuff for Ole Miss. Obviously, LSU is my primary beat, but man, it's been a saga at this point. Initially, Ole Miss had a ton of confidence in there that they thought that they could retain Lane Kiffin from the jump. They thought that they could really do this thing. And then you started to see the Florida side of things gain some confidence. And then, fast forward to about, man, what are we, a week now-ish? Where LSU started to gain a ton of confidence here. And the offers were starting to get pieced together. The administration was putting together the contract offer that they were ready to present to obviously Kiffin, Sexton, and the rest of the camp. And LSU was starting to build some momentum in this one for sure. I can echo that same sentiment that you've seen from a bunch of different reports, including yourself. So for me, I'm not going to sit here and say LSU's in the driver's seat or any of this just because it's Lane Kiffin and Jimmy Sexton, for crying out loud. But I think LSU has positioned themselves extremely well to get this thing over the finish line. There's a lot of time between today being Monday and, of course, Saturday when he's supposed to go public with this thing. But there's some confidence brewing on the LSU side for sure. And now it's just about getting it over the finish line and ultimately Lane and the rest of his camp going public.
Well, there's three camps involved, right? LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida. And two of the three camps believe that Lane Kiffin's destination is LSU.
Yep.
And the Florida camp is sitting there incredulous, thinking that we're all idiots because they know something that we don't know. And I'm telling you, every one of their media people believe that Lane Kiffin's going to be the next Florida Gators coach. And I talked to a guy who runs a Gator site, and when I talk to him on the phone and share what I know, and when I contradict what he's knowing, it's he's not having it. And so I don't know, man. But I will say this, from what I've gathered, it sure seems like there's no movement on LSU's end when it comes to covering themselves and having a backup plan. And you can't say the same about Florida.
I mean, man, when you talk about Florida, they're vetting a ton of different candidates, whether it's Summerall, Drinkwitz, Fish. Man, they've got backup plans. They got plan Bs in place, which leads me to almost believe that, they know that they need to start looking down that path. And it's one of the reasons why I'm building confidence of my own on the LSU side. But for sure, I mean, when you hear LSU, I think a lot of people want to point in the direction of Eli Drinkwitz, of course, being that plan B. But I haven't heard enough on my end to sit back and say, like, this is a definitive candidate that they're willing to bring in here. I can't say that confidently myself. I don't want to sit here and say that it's Kiffin or bust, but I think you're definitely in a situation right now where Kiffin is this number one guy by a significant margin, and that number two guy is pretty far behind, whoever it may be.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into some comments right off the bat. James Charles, I think we better have a backup plan with
Fitting.
Lane. You never know, and he's capable, and what he's capable of. Personally, I think he's too much of a head case. You might not be wrong there. I was on a show earlier today and someone said, Mike, do you buy that he's different and he's matured? Yeah, I do. But he is who he is as well. Do I think he's hanging out in Oxford bars and clubs anymore? No. but do I still think he has a wandering eye? And, you know, people's personalities are what they are. They're pretty much what they are for life. So, yeah, hit the like button. Thank you, Fire. And Preston, hope your wife is doing great. Yes, she did. I addressed that earlier. Brad David, is Mike and Buddy still having a show on Wednesday this week? We are not. Buddy's is taking the week off for Thanksgiving, but I still feel like I might at some point do some sort of line-up show. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I don't think I'm going to go this entire week without doing something, especially with what's in the news. But I'm going to ask you. I just sort of feel like everything we know about this thing is going to stay the way it is for a while. I kind of feel like we're going to go 48, 72 hours without anything new. I could be wrong.
I don't know, man. Part of me just thinks it's hard to keep this thing so close to the vest for the next 5 full days. Part of me just has to believe, Mike, that something's going to spill sooner rather than later. Whichever team feels like they have that lead, part of me just can't sit back and think that this thing goes all the way until Saturday morning.
I think what's going to happen is going to be anecdotal stuff. It's going to be where, for instance, I get a call from somebody who says a guy I went to high school with is on the staff, and he says he and his wife are moving to Baton Rouge. It's going to be. It'll be stuff like that. You're not going to get anything other than people going underground. And, but I think obviously Egg Bowl, 11 a.m. kickoff on Friday. That thing will end 2:30. Lane Kiffin will have around a 3 o'clock post game.
That'll be fascinating.
That post game, I think he's going to get peppered pretty hard. If you listen to his, press conference today, and I cut up the 3 clips that where he addressed the situation. The second go round, or towards the end there, he got a little aggravated, and but they're not going to let him off the hook on Friday. I think they're going to be very pointed, and rightfully so. I think their media probably did I think they did a pretty good job today. But I think the gloves will be off in post game on Friday, and we'll see how he gets out of that one, whether he gets out unscathed or not.
Well, let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off, but what do you think? I mean, clearly we know Kiffin's intentions here. This guy wanted to coach the Egg Bowl, got his wish. He called Ole Miss's bluff. He's 1 for 1 now. In order to go 2 for 2, he's got to, they're going to make the playoff. Ultimately, this team will be in the playoff. And the kicker here is, do you let him coach in the playoff? Everything points in the direction of him not being able to, right? But do you think somehow he could try to get his way and ultimately coach the playoff if he decides to leave Ole Miss? Obviously, everything's still up in the air.
Zach, I could be totally wrong. I don't think he wants to coach in the playoffs. I think he wants his hand forced, and I think he wants to be on his way, and I think he wants to be introduced on Monday in a press conference.
I mean, I think that makes sense. And everything that I'm hearing would point in the direction of Joe Judge or Pete Golding, primarily Judge.
I've heard Joe Judge, and they've been lining that up for weeks.
Being the interim. And for me, it's hard, man, for me to sit back and say, this is a guy who wants to walk away from a national championship situation. Sure, a ton of hurdles to jump over in order to get to the Natty. But, man, to walk away from a playoff team, the best year that Ole Miss has ever had, it's hard, man. It's hard for me to even sit back and say that that's something that he'd want to do. It's crazy, an unprecedented situation to say the least.
All right, everybody, excuse my sniffling. I assure you, as soon as this show's over with, I'm going to OD on some NyQuil. I'm fighting allergies in a bad way, so I'll try not to do it as loudly in the microphone. All right, we need to talk about Dykes Electrical, the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. No matter how big or small your electrical needs might be, Dykes is wired for success. You need a brand new 10-story office building, they can wire that. 200,000 square foot warehouse that you need built, they can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building, they can wire that. changing out a breaker, whole electrical panel, just receptacle, upgrading old lighting in the home or office. They can do all of it. That's why you need to give them a call at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. And please let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And there it is on the screen, Struby's. Look at that great cowboy ribeye. And, of course, they've got fantastic seafood offerings over at Struby's. And, again, located at 107 3rd Street, downtown Baton Rouge, locally owned and operated, all fresh ingredients, USDA prime black Angus, and 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. They got the dry-aged pork chop, the steak Diane, which is fantastic. Book your reservation online at strubys.com, and please let them know TigerBait sent you in. And need to talk about the great folks over at Genesis of Lafayette. As you see on your screen, look at those interest rates, 0.99 for 36, 1.99 for 60, 2.99 for 72 on a 2025 GV80. And that's a beautiful SUV, midsize, tops in its class, or the GV80 Coupe. Go for a test drive at Genesis of Lafayette. Again, 6600 Johnson Street. And you can shop at genesisoflafayette.com. They've got great certified pre-owned vehicles. And go for your test drive. Call them at 877-856-2961 and let them know that TigerBait sent you in. All right, let's dive in. Yeah, I see some BK stuff in here. I'm not even touching it. What do we need to talk about Brian Kelly for? Yeah, 534 Mike. Thank you for sharing Jay Johnson press conference. I like what he said about Gavin Guidry. Yeah, that's very promising. And Jay was really good today, and he's got another fantastic baseball team. If they stay healthy, I don't know how they don't get to Omaha. American Patriot Show. I just watched Locked on Ole Miss. That fan base is ready to fire him today. They are pissed. Oh yeah, they should be.
That's the fan base. I mean, I think that just losing the locker room for me is got to be the primary situation right now. There's no way that these players in that locker room are willing to sit back and lace up their cleats for somebody right now who's 1 foot out the door. In my opinion, it's a difficult situation. I
will say this though, Zach. Tell me if you disagree. I think 10 years ago that would have been much worse. But in today's climate of NIL and 1 year building teams, I think those kids, a lot of them look at it differently.
It's a fair point. I mean, they're employees.
Now the kids that are born and raised in Mississippi, it might be a different for them, which would be understandable. I also think there might be a little bit of those, some of them talking out of both sides of their mouths. But like I said a few weeks ago, what did Ole Miss do to deserve this? I empathize with them. I really do. I don't hate Ole Miss. Like we've talked about, it's the older generation that had the viewed Ole Miss in that light. But look, he's about to win 11 games, most likely, and that's something unprecedented at Ole Miss.
Let's see. I'll tell you what, Mike, we've gotten a lot of comments like this asking about backup plans and whatnot. For you, obviously, you've sat here and repeated it. You're definitive on the fact that this is a Lane Kiffin or bust situation right now. They do not necessarily have backup plans. For you, hypothetically, if Kiffin ultimately decides, hey, I'm going to Florida or I'm going to stay here and try to build something at Ole Miss, which seems far-fetched at this point. For you personally, what's your backup plan? Who's somebody that you look at and say that they should go and continue to vet this guy?
Well, it's not my backup plan, but I was told, and I trust this source, that the two guys that would be next up if Kiffin pulled a fast one would be Brent Key or Eli Drinkwitz. And I don't know which order of those two.
Same question here on that too. And I agree with you. I've heard a lot of Eli Drinkwitz as a plan B type of guy. Do I think that he would fit the culture in Baton Rouge? It's tough for me to sit back at this point right now and say that Drinkwitz would fit the culture here in Baton Rouge. We've seen that ultimately go down over the last couple of years. Is Drinkwitz good when it comes to resources, funding, and really crushing the NIL game right now? Absolutely. He's doing a lot with a little bit up there in Missouri. Do I think that with better resources he could succeed? Sure. Do I think from a culture perspective this is a guy that LSU should have? I'm not there yet on that. And I think a lot of the fan base is in agreement on that. We saw somebody put out a dang petition on Twitter saying, sign this if you don't want drink. I mean, it's in the comments are rolling in about it too, man. I don't think it's a culture fit. I think he could have the opportunity to succeed wherever he does ultimately land. I'm just not quite sure the fan base would buy in like they would with somebody like a Kiffin or a Dillingham.
And really the fan base, you remember what the Texas A&M fan base did
Correct.
to Mark
It's a good
Stoops.
comparison. Yeah.
Right? The fan base does not like Eli Drinkwitz. And so that's a tough sell. I would say Dillingham and Sumrall. There's a reason why Sumrall is on everybody's list. And who's to say years from now that Ole Miss might not be better off with a guy like John Sumrall if they can get him. But if they don't get him, Auburn's going to get him. Is Florida going to get it? He's going to end up somewhere, right? I mean,
he is. And Ole Miss is that's their guy right now. I mean, they're going through the vetting process on John Sumrall. Ultimately, if Kiffin does depart, but they're going to have a lot of other guys interested in that job. From a NIL perspective, they've proven that they can hang. I mean, they piece together strong transfer portal classes year in and year out. And Kiffin's not necessarily the one that's in the room always doing the recruiting. They have a phenomenal recruiting staff over there in Oxford. So I think whoever ultimately gets that job at Ole Miss, if Kiffin departs, they're going to be entering a pretty solid situation.
Yep. Is this Lincoln Riley stuff still out there?
I've not heard anything surrounding Lincoln Riley. So I'm going to sit back myself and say, I don't think Lincoln Riley is a guy that's going to.
And what is his stock right now?
I mean, USC isn't having that bad of a year right now. I mean, yeah, they just lost, but they haven't been terrible, man.
Yeah, I'm just talking about particularly after the way he handled it the last time.
And I agree with that. That's why one of the parts for me says no way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, Kelly Watley. You never know until it's done. After all, it's Lane. Great show, guys. You were there Saturday night, but you weren't where we were all eating the pregame meal. And what's funny is Rabelais, myself, and some of the other guys of a certain age are much higher with our odds on Lane Kiffin landing. It's the Gen Z guys, the guys in your age group, that are a lot hedging their bets and a lot more cautious, which I find odd.
I mean, I'm right there with you. For me, I'm confident in my stance on it right now. I think you have a lot of youngsters that are wanting to hedge their bets so that they don't look wrong in the situation.
Yeah.
We're not savvy vets, man. Like we got a lot of young guys who are trying to make themselves.
Oh no! Look, believe me, when I get a phone call like I did from my Florida media source today, and I've just come to the conclusion it's over. You know, like it's Lane, and then when you talk to someone to that who's so adamant, and you get off the phone, you're like almost like punch drunk. Like, man, am I missing something? Like you start second guessing yourself.
That's how I felt the whole time, man. Like I feel confident, but you don't want to get too confident. It's Lane and Jimmy Sexton. I mean, you never know what the heck's going to happen. And
I will say this though, we could talk about the obnoxious Notre Dame fans that have been in our chats here on YouTube for years now with the I told you so's on BK. I need to go bookmark a bunch of the replies on Twitter. Some of those Gator fans, because boy,
they're egregious.
Yes.
But look, Mike, I got a question for you right here. Everybody's wondering it. People have asked it 4 times now. Hypothetically, again, Lane Kiffin comes in here, next coach in Baton Rouge. What happens with Austin Thomas? What would your perspective be on that? Because we know that Lane would want to bring in Billy Glasscock and try to get him in here. What do you think would happen with Austin Thomas? Is this a guy that ultimately stays here in Baton Rouge? Do they try to find another role for him, or kind of what's the skinny on that?
It's a double whammy for Austin Thomas. Scott Woodward was his champion, and he's gone. And the way that Austin left Ole Miss, The only way that I think Austin can get saved is if Verge or somebody in there tries to mediate and have them talk it out. But everything I've gotten is it's a definitive no.
It's hard for me to even hear just because, and I don't want to be like this homer or anything of that nature. But man, I bought and have bought and would continue to buy stock in Austin Thomas. I mean, just what he does behind the scenes from a funding perspective is unprecedented. There's a
Yes.
reason why LSU was able to go out and get the transfer portal class that they had. And I know we're sitting here 7-4. Some of the transfers didn't pan out, and that comes down to evaluations, right? You got to be able to evaluate better. But when it comes to funding and being able to put up the big bucks for these guys to go out and swing, I mean, Lane Kiffin time and time again has sat here and said how much he wanted AJ Halsey, and they couldn't up the ante and do enough to get him over the finish line, and LSU did. And AJ Halsey is ultimately one of, if not your top transfer portal guy. So I'm a fan of Austin Thomas. I think that this is a guy who's going to be really hard to replace. Lane's got his guys if he comes in here, but man, it would be hard for me to sit back and watch Austin Thomas walk.
Oh, and by the way, I talked to Austin Thomas off the record months ago, and he didn't have to spend crazy money to get AJ Halsey. But LSU won on NIL versus Ole Miss. He felt like he got a bargain and didn't overspend.
So would that be you saying that Ole Miss
because he felt both? He felt that he got him and Bernard Gooden at bargain rates, and yet he still beat out Ole Miss.
Miami and LSU for Gooden?
Huh? I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So wait, so would that lead you to believe that Ole Miss's ceiling is just their money just isn't as high?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
and by the way, the money that's been raised by Austin now is even bigger. I hope that they get to talk. I'll say this with you also, covering Ole Miss. I mean, who is do you know all the inner workings on who got Chambliss and located him and did all that work? Was it Glasscock?
It was found on Twitter, and was it Glasscock? Was it? No.
No, I'm asking you. Was it?
No,
I
don't think it was. I don't think
who
it was.
Who was it?
I don't know if it was Judge. I'd have to ask.
Whoever it is, you need to hope that they come.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Y'all holding it down?
Hold on, is there a baby in that crib?
Oh, yeah. There she is. Ellie. She's here, guys.
8 pounds, 10 ounces?
8 pounds, 13 ounces. It was a very quick delivery. It went from, we were here for about 12 hours. She had nothing, and then boom, out of nowhere she came. So we're excited, man. I appreciate y'all for taking care of the show for me tonight.
Absolutely, man. And y'all, so I'm assuming everything. You're going home tomorrow, right?
No.
They get you out pretty quick.
No, they want you here for 48 hours. Yeah, we'll be here another day.
Okay.
Yeah. But man, it is quite the vibe. It's been an eventful week with Lane Kiffin news and Ellie news in my life, and I hope y'all are just having fun holding down the show for me tonight. And I appreciate everybody for watching without me tonight.
Yeah, man, you got a lot of people in the comments
man.
right now saying congrats. Obviously, congrats from me too. I haven't had the chance to reach out just yet, but yeah, man, we're holding it down on this end. Congrats to you guys. That's beautiful.
I'm looking at her little hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's a cutie, man. And she is a perfectly healthy. Mom is perfectly healthy. Baby's perfectly healthy. And she is the most well-behaved baby ever. She's hardly cried or been upset. She's fed well. Everything's going good. So anyways, just wanted to pop in and say hey to everybody, give a little quick cameo. I'll let y'all get back to busting these inside sources on Lane Kiffin.
All right, Preston. Congrats, man. Give the best to Alyssa.
All right. Appreciate y'all. Good night, y'all.
All right, man. Good night. Yeah, how about that, man? Live from Women's Hospital.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. I got some super chats here. Let me scroll down. TGO186 with a super chat. Thank you so much. That's a big one. This is now reminding me of the Who Shot JR suspense. Appreciate the show, guys. It is. And, me and Zack were, talking offline before we went live, and he's exhausted. I'm exhausted. A lot of the media is exhausted. I've got friends at huge LSU, and they want to unplug for 2 or 3 days. I like I said earlier, I think it's probably safe to unplug for 2 or 3 days. I don't know if there's anything that leaks out, but I just have a hard time, like I said earlier, Zack, that this thing it 3:30. I'm gonna say from about 3 o'clock on, at that 24-hour spot between 3 o'clock Friday and right when LSU kicks off on Saturday.
Right.
I have a hard time believing it's not leaking out, and we can start taking odds on which national outlet and which national name is going to be the one to get the go ahead from Jimmy Sexton, whether it's Dellinger or Chris Lowe or whoever. But I think that's how it's going to go down. I could be wrong.
I'm with you. I mean, part of me wants to sit back and believe that it'll get leaked before then, but at the same time, it's Sexton that we're dealing with. This has been kept pretty tight. Ultimately, we've seen a couple different contracts leak out and whatnot, but it's an unprecedented situation. It's a crazy spot that we're in right now.
I'm gonna tell you this: there is no advantage of a school leaking it that would be detrimental to your cause. All right. And I don't know where it's beneficial to the agent for that info to leak out.
So why do you think it leaked?
Huh?
So why do you think it leaked? I mean, you saw these contract numbers that are starting to come out and into the mix.
But that's one thing. But to say that he is the next coach of LSU, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or Florida. I'll just throw that in there.
I gotta imagine, what's the board been looking like, man? I'm sure you got people who are sitting there just talking as much keep it PG stuff as possible.
Yeah. No, it's there's a lot of cautious excitement. But count on money. I love you, Preston. Let's go buy a toy with this. Absolutely. Thank you for that super chat. Dylan with a super chat. Congrats, Preston. She'll be driving the Lane train. There you go. And S. Young with a super chat. Why is LSU not going harder for Dillingham, the next Jay Johnson of football?
I'll take that one. I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham, man. I think that this guy has a ton of next. He's spoken at length about how much he really wants to be in Arizona. I mean, it's family right there. I mean, you saw the quote, man. His family is right on the same street as him. His parents next door, other family members a couple doors down. It's a dream situation over there for him. I would expect a lot of people are going to come in and be, trying to swing for the fences on him eventually. There's a 35, 36-year-old guy who's up and coming and is doing a lot with a little over there. He sat back and talked about how much their NIL piece really, really needs to be upped in that spot. So for me, I think that could push him out the door eventually to where he wants to get to a spot that has more resources. But for right now, I'm going to be fascinated to see what he does. But I'm a very, very high guy on Dillingham in the future. I think he's got next.
I agree. I just, I wouldn't have a problem with him if that was the guy. At the same time, I'd almost I would prefer to have maybe a little bit more of a sample size. But it's amazing what he's done in a short period of time. All right, Celebrity Theaters, everybody. They've been one of our sponsors from the very beginning. Locally owned and operated, locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston. I don't know if you've been to the one over there on George O'Neill in years, but they did an insane renovation there. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's state-of-the-art technology. They've got the big leather recliners, the Dolby Atmos sound, and they've got great weekly promotions. Monday, Senior Savings Day, $5. Movies for over 55. Bargain Tuesday, discounted movie tickets and concessions. Wednesday is college night. Admission for college students at 5 p.m. for $5. Thursday is Baton Rouge location only. Thursday, discounted bar items. And 8 to 10 auditoriums, depending on the location, and they'll host your parties, your events. And George O'Neill, of course, is our one here in Baton Rouge. And it's just a great place to watch a movie. In fact, we might try and hit one Thanksgiving night. We sometimes will hit a movie on Thanksgiving night ourselves. Bay's Oyster Bar. It's your newest oyster spot here in Baton Rouge. 315 North Boulevard. They're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. They got boiled shrimp, the turkey brie and bacon sandwiches to die for. And they've got top-notch bourbon, massive craft beer selection. So don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot, and let them know TigerBait sent you in. And need to talk about our guys over at Matt Bowers. If you're looking for your next vehicle, make sure to support a local dealership that supports the Tigers. That's Matt Bowers, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram on Airline Highway near Behringer Foreman. And they've got an awesome NIL deal with LSU tight end Trey Green. You simply cannot beat their quality service. And they include a lifetime powertrain warranty on all new vehicles that they sell. Shop them online at mattbowerscdjr.com.
What's up, Tiger Nation? It's Trey Green. Go see my friend Matt Bowers when you need your next ride.
Get Matt's lifetime powertrain warranty included with every new vehicle purchase.
Shop smart. Buy local. Matt Bowers, CDJR, Baton Rouge.
There you go. All right. You see any more we need to get to, Zach?
I do. Chance, actually, we were talking about it before, and I blanked. So it was a really good comment right here. Charlie Weiss was the one who found Trinidad Chambliss. That is a fact. And he found him on Twitter. This is one where he was scrolling on social media, came across his highlight tape, got him down to campus over there in Oxford, and they brought him on board immediately. So they weren't letting him leave without saying yes, and the rest is history over there in Oxford. And then one more that we had. It's down here a little bit. It's a super chat. Back to what we're talking about. Dillingham, man, I think any coach would leave their situation if they were getting the money that Kiffin's getting. I mean, highest paid coach, an NIL pool that's record setting. I think you could look at a lot of coaches other than maybe like a Ryan Day or Kirby Smart, and I'm pretty sure they'd be looking at this as something that's enticing for sure.
Look, Dillingham's young. He probably feels like, I'd like to know if anybody's really pushed the issue with him.
I would say the same thing.
I don't know that anybody really has, if they've really tested him not leaving home and having all his family live next door and on the same block. I don't know that that's been put to the test in a real way. And I wonder if it's because what I was saying earlier, that the schools that we're talking about that like an LSU and a Florida maybe want a bigger sample size.
Somebody commented, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's small, obviously. Sam Levitt's a great quarterback. He had Scatterby the year before. Said some really talented players over there, and you could credit the evaluation process for his staff. But certainly, I think you give him a couple more years there, whether it's 1, 2, 3. I think he'll bite on an offer eventually. Like you said, people might not be pushing as hard as we might be right now.
John Summerall, let me ask you this. Is it pretty much if Lane leaves, like we expect, that John Summerall would choose Ole Miss over Auburn?
I think there's a reason why he hasn't accepted that Auburn offer just yet. They've been pushing pretty hard. Obviously, he's the number one guy on their board over there at Auburn. I think there's a reason why he hasn't accepted it yet and said yes. I think he wants to see how things play out here with Ole Miss, because this is one that entices him significantly. I think that ultimately, if Lane leaves, Summerall is going to continue to get vetted, get interviewed, and whatnot. They've gone pretty far down the road on him so far, while Kiffin's kind of remained non-committal. For me, I think he would take the Ole Miss job over Auburn if it gets to that point. But who knows how long he'd be willing to wait? Who knows how long Auburn's willing to wait at the same time? So,
well, and look, and then what if Florida comes to the realization that Lane Kiffin's LSU bound? Who's their guy? Is Summerall immediately their number one guy?
And that's for which school?
Florida. I know they don't like Drinkwitz at all.
That would be, I mean, what? Do you sit back and you say, would Fish be their backup guy, Jed Fish over there, Florida?
I think Summerall's the man of the hour. And I like him. I have a hard time believing he's going to be a failure wherever he ends up.
Interesting.
I could be wrong. The Franco Nation, 37. I can't upload because of Spence, man. It's like a show where you have a suspenseful scene and cut to commercial, or when a show and it cuts with a cliffhanger. Yeah. I will be glued to my phone on Friday morning. Let me ask this question. Now, I don't know that it matters. Are you pulling for Ole Miss on Friday, or are you pulling for Mississippi State?
Man, I think Kiffin might even be pulling for Mississippi State so that this team potentially doesn't even make the college football playoff.
You know, it's one of those deals where does it, I don't think LSU fans would care, but does it tarnish them at all if they lose that game and it lose the Egg Bowl? All it does is, I think in my mind, make it easier.
Agreed. I agree with that.
Scrolling down.
I'm looking for a couple too.
Great show, guys, says Jakata01. Either of you familiar with this NILSU Max program being designed to build a bigger NIL pot? Is that the one where it's an annuity?
Not my wheelhouse.
I've heard a little rumblings about there's a bunch of different plans out there. And I know there's one also out there trying to be put together for baseball, similar. Thank you for that super chat, Jakata. Boss Swindell with a super chat. Summerall has improved every program he has been at. I like him.
I like him too. I mean, do you think there's a reason why LSU isn't pushing as hard? Is it just because the little brother type thing? I mean, obviously Kiffin. Take Kiffin out of the picture here. Gotcha.
I could be wrong. It's like I said earlier. I wonder where Summerall is on LSU's board, but it's been all Lane Kiffin. I don't know if they've had the debate.
Yes, I know that he's from Alabama. He's commented this like 4 times. Yes, I know. He's from Alabama. And I never said anybody accepted a deal either, my man. Trust me.
And that might be why, because he's from Alabama and he knows the lay of the land, why he also might want to avoid Auburn.
Thank you for saying what needed to be said. What needed to be said. Absolutely.
Yes. You want to talk about having meddling donors, and it's been a problem there for how long now?
Exactly.
Has it gotten any better?
I mean, I feel like Auburn has talent over there, by the way. Like, they have guys. Cam Coleman's a dude. Deuce Knight is going to be a dude. If he stays there. Obviously, if we're talking portal, I mean, I think that's going to be one of the most coveted guys if he enters, either or.
Amanda Guidry-Webb, obviously the day of Lane's announcement is the day following the Egg Bowl. Hopefully LSU has a backup plan. Tough place to be in. Go Tigers. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, I mean, you absolutely want to have your introduction of the football coach Monday.
Man, can you imagine that, Mike? We're here a week from today introducing the next coach. I mean, fascinating.
Linlin 233. Mike, what do you think of BK's son? I thought it was over the top. I thought he looked like a tool. Is that okay?
Fair for me.
And by the way, I haven't dug down this. Maybe I'm totally oblivious. Is it accurate that LSU forbade BK from coming out?
How could
people are assuming that?
How could you have somebody who's in the middle of a lawsuit go onto the field? That's what I was talking with some people about.
Well, I got a question for you. Didn't James Gregg sue LSU? Offensive line coach at Ole Miss for wrongful termination?
Is that what it was?
Yeah. He was caught up in that whole deal with God dang it, what's the starting left tackle for Clemson? And that whole deal that blew up where they had illegal contact in December for the class of 2022. And he got cut loose. Remember?
But how does that tie in?
Well, does he come with Lane? And he's got a lawsuit? Did that thing ever get settled?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if it's been answered. I don't know if it's been solved yet. That's a good question, though. I would assume he's going to bring a lot of that staff, Charlie Weiss included. I know somebody asked that earlier.
By the way, he's an excellent offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
Drinkwitz definitely wants to leave Missouri from a bigger program. I mean, I haven't even been following what's going on with Penn State.
I haven't either.
I mean, as a guy who's been in the SEC and has a taste for the SEC leave for Penn State, I mean, Franklin did, but that's a different.
It'd be hard for me to think that he would do that, especially if there's as much interest with other schools right now. I mean, everybody's still open. It's wide open. Arkansas.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give Eli Drinkwitz a little of advice. I think he's got a great sense of humor. He's funny, but boy, some of his press conferences lately, he has not come off very well. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't like the media pool at Missouri. Is there somebody there that gets under his skin, or more than a few of them? It seems like it might be a weak media crew up there. Maybe that's a part of it, but he just has not come off well at all in his press conferences, to the point where I'm surprised some media guy hadn't told him where to stick it.
I watched a couple of them. I saw the statement that he made. I mean, it was a long, drawn out thing talking about how he's happy over there in Missouri. And, he kind of just slammed the door shut on the whole rumor mill. I mean, we know that he's kind of shopping around over here. So I thought that was a little bit much. But I got this one for you, Mike. I really want to get your perspective on this. Kiffin comes to Baton Rouge. Let's say it all happens and the stars kind of align. What happens at DC? You think Baker stays, or if Summerall bounces and goes to either Ole Miss, Auburn, or another school, does Baker go and ultimately become their top candidate for their head coaching gig? And if he's not a candidate, let's say that doesn't happen, does he stay?
I think it's too early to tell. It's going to be an interesting first few weeks of December.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But Tulane I was told by someone that covers Tulane that they prefer to hire head coaches. But is Baker a different animal? A former player, right up the street, wife from Louisiana? Is it too easy of a call?
Knows the recruiting ground, obviously. A lot of ties, like you said, Tulane.
And what does Lane Kiffin think if Baker's sitting there and he can have him? How does he compare and contrast him with Golding?
Part of me just doesn't think that Golding is going to leave Ole Miss. I think that this is a guy who, A, is going to be trying to campaign for that gig. I don't think he'd get it right now.
He's not getting it.
But yeah, I don't think he would get that job. And B, I think he wants to be out there. I'm not sure if he would leave. I think he wants to be out there in Oxford right now. But I think a lot of people in the comments are going to come back and say he's a Louisiana native. This is a guy who obviously knows the lay of the land down here for sure. There's no denying that at all. That's just a fact. But part of me would sit back and think that it would take a lot to get him to follow Kiffin down here, especially when he's doing a lot of the recruiting right now up there in Oxford, trying to get this 2026 class to stay intact. It leads me to believe that he wants to be there and kind of try to make some things happen up there with Ole Miss. But sure, I think that Kiffin knows what Golding brings to the table. They paid him handsomely. There's a lot of respect there. So it's definitely going to be a conversation, and those first couple of weeks would be challenging.
Yep. I think it's just we do this every time, and it's fun.
Speculation.
We're in the business of speculating. That's what these shows are for. But there's so many scenarios where we get this stuff especially wrong. But it would be I don't know. I don't like the idea of telling any head coach that you've got to hold on to these guys, or you hope that the head coach sees the value in somebody themselves, and that they don't have to be talked into it by an athletic director, et cetera. If he likes his cornerbacks coach more than Corey Raymond, then what are you going to do? What do you do at Frank Wilson? We've been talking about that for weeks.
I think that's a magic question, man. We know that he'd want to bring over his running backs coach. You and I have talked about this a couple of different times. Would he be okay with going to a recruiting role or, some other type of role on staff? I mean,
yeah, but Frank makes what, 800, 900,000?
Yep.
Your high school liaison doesn't pay that. You can't get away with giving that kind of money, continue to pay him that if he's not an on-field coach. And so if he's bringing his running backs coach with him, and people say, "Oh, well, he coached wide receivers in 2009." I can tell you right now, I don't want Frank Wilson coaching wide receivers. You need a bona fide wide receivers coach. And you say, "Oh, we'll give him tight ends." No, the same applies there. And by the way, in this day and age of NIL, the idea that you need half of your staff being where you can get away with look, you've been able to get away for a long time with half of your staff not being really great X's and O's and on-field coaches, but you need them for recruiting. You don't need to do that anymore in this day and age of NIL.
So if you're the next coach,
you still have to have relationships. You still have to recruit in a traditional way. It's just not as important anymore.
So are there any non-negotiables on the staff right now that you think stay, or do you think it's kind of a clean house? Because we talked about this before. I think you popped on last week with me and Preston, and we talked about this. And you said
I want Lane Kiffin to make the decision.
Okay.
I don't want him being saddled with something he doesn't want. It's up to him to find the value in each individual coach. But he needs to do the right thing and sit down with each of those guys that he's on the fence about and interviewing them and talk to them. And if he feels like it's an upgrade from what he's got at Ole Miss, then he's going to have to tell one of those guys, "I don't have a spot for you." And maybe he likes none of them, either the guy at LSU or at Ole Miss, and he wants to upgrade because he's got more money to spend at LSU. I assure you that's part of his package and what draws him to Baton Rouge. And he brings up this one. Tommy Moffitt.
What are your thoughts on that?
You make the call. Look, if you want to say there was a stretch of years there after Tommy Moffitt battled cancer, maybe he got a little stale or whatever, or maybe that was just coincidental with some poor recruiting and it made him look bad. Whatever it is, he's had a renaissance, hasn't he? And so bring him back. He still owns his house here. And I like that, Shelton McBride. Kiffin will not be dictated to. That's what I'm saying. I like that. And right, a lot of people felt that Moffitt was terrible at the end. And maybe it took for him to be out of football for a couple of years, feel snubbed by Brian Kelly, and recharge his batteries. There's nothing wrong with that. Frank is the recruiting coordinator, so if anyone has any complaints, take it up with him. Okay, Bo, I got a lot of complaints. I don't think this team's very talented.
He's not the one doing all the evaluations, though. But yeah.
Oh, but now you pass the buck. You can't.
Right. There's always going to be one. There's always going to be one.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some issues from an evaluation perspective on this current roster. And it starts with the portal. I mean, you didn't hit on. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'm not gonna. You already know what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to keep it shut right now.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I love Austin Thomas. But there's some backbiting in that building, Zach. And you've got people in that building openly asking, well, who did Austin bring in? Right?
I mean, is that Austin's job to be doing the evaluation process or just handling, let's say, the contract and the money?
Pointing out players that he missed on. Nobody's hands are clean.
I agree with that. But there's always going to be a scapegoat. There's always going to be a scapegoat.
And believe me, they all like to point the finger at each other in these when the ship sinks like this. I've seen it time after time. A lot of misses on the offensive line. I'm going to ask you this question, Zach. I don't believe they're all misses. I just don't. I think there's a lot of talent there.
I think there's a lot of talent, but I think there's a lack of development. I think that you have players on that team that have the opportunity to be successful. I think that – I watch how I say this, but I don't think Weston Davis is a guy who was a coveted 5-star guy who just was just a – I can't say – was just an awful evaluation. I'll just leave it at that because –
By the way, he was the highest graded offensive lineman in this last weekend.
Well said. And that's my thing. Like, I just think, man, like, it's a developmental piece. I think that there is an issue from a talent perspective, and I think that a lot of it just comes down to development. I think evaluation process isn't that bad. I think it's just a matter of these guys not being developed properly, and that's what we've seen over the last couple of years. I mean, this offensive line has not been good, Mike, for a while.
No, but
you just had Jaden Daniels running his butt off, hiding it and covering it up, and we don't have a quarterback.
Those were all highly recruited guys that everybody wanted, and you look at them out there. There's not a bunch of overweight, unathletic guys that are just space eaters. They're all athletic. They can all move. They're just not. They just haven't been developed. And you hit the key word, develop. They haven't been developed, and that's the position that's the slowest to develop. And for this to be an ongoing problem, you're pointing the fingers at Brad Davis. I'm sorry.
And do you think that's a fair finger to point? Like, would you sit back and say that, ultimately?
Yeah, it's absolutely fair.
Gotcha.
Austin Thomas and Frank Wilson have pretty much built this team. Who are faulting them? I'm just saying. Well, you're talking about a team that's about to go 7-5. They built a 7-5 team. And I can play devil's advocate even further. Neither one of those two guys were here in 2019. LSU never. Well, I'm not going to go there, but I'm just saying there's a whole lot of myth making. There's good and bad with a lot of them. Amanda Goodry-Webb, Lane as a drifter is another part of his resume. We need a coach to lead and coach our program for years to come. Look, Amanda, that's the same thing we said about Nick Saban. Someone that has a passion for our culture and SEC football. That was the exact thing said about Nick Saban. In fact, there's so much deja vu right now with this Lane Kiffin deal. I remember like it was yesterday, sitting down with the Michigan State website guys at a Rivals convention and them talking about how they dealt with the Nick Saban rumors every year, and that you guys are going to get sick of it. And I'm telling you, it wasn't 2 years in that we were getting sick of it. It took him to go to the NFL for him to realize that he needed to go back to the SEC. Unfortunately for LSU, it was at Alabama. And then he found his spot, and he was no longer a gun for hire. But that is what Lane Kiffin is right now. It's almost very similar, minus the Raiders spot and all the off the field nonsense.
I mean, everybody wants to know, Mike. I think you know more than anybody here. How much of a say do you think Nick Saban has in this decision when it comes right now to Lane Kiffin? Do you think he's sitting there and pressing him, saying, "Kind of go do what I didn't do over at LSU and try to build something special," or do you think it's more hands off and there's just a lot of speculation around on that front?
I could be totally wrong. A part of me feels like there's no way in heck that Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban have not had a phone call in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. You watch ESPN Game Day to look for some little hints, right?
Yep. That's why I asked. So run with it.
What is Nick Saban gonna say that maybe gives you a hint as to what advice has given? Did you glean anything from Saturday's Game Day or any other hit with Nick Saban? I didn't.
Not much. When you look at all the guys on the panel, they were kind of telling Kiffin maybe stay, do this, do that. They didn't really point in the direction of LSU. It seemed maybe a little bit Saban was not necessarily pointing in that direction, but his facial expressions and the way that he was going about things, sure, a little bit of it might have pointed in that direction.
Bo Swindle with a super chat. I love LSU, but Brad Davis needs to be fired yesterday, not tomorrow. Well, he's done. And he should have been the first one fired. I agree.
Y'all caught Mike when he's not feeling good. He's grumpy. He's going to be giving y'all everything y'all want tonight right now. I'm telling you right now, go sub.
Part of me wanted to do a big heaping cup of NyQuil before the show just to see, what I might be like at about the 45-minute mark.
That might have made you feel too good. Now we need you to be showing some colors here. This is good.
Yeah. Jeremy Franks, hey, Mike and Zach, what name said on Game Day he was not lying? Yeah. I just know that there's a whole lot of stuff that if they would talk and Nick Saban was frank, it'd be an easy call. But I remember like it was yesterday, early 2000s when Nick was here, Coach Saban, and talking about how the Florida job was viewed at that time. The Florida job 25 years ago was the job. But it's fallen. It's not viewed in the same light anymore. But that was considered the job in the SEC 25 years ago. And it's been all the failures since Urban Meyer that have drawn it down to where it's not viewed in that light anymore.
How many coaches have they gone through in the last decade and a half? What, like 4 or 5 more? You know that better than me.
McElwain, Muschamp, Mullen, Napier.
4.
Am I missing anyone?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you this, though, real quick. I like this comment. It was because we were talking about Frank for a little bit and stuff. Look, if Frank isn't retained on this roster, or on this coaching staff, rather, how much do you think that impacts somebody like Harlem Berry and Caden Durham? We know how much Harlem has really committed to this university, but we know that Frank paved the way to get him here as well. How much do you think it would impact him and or Caden Durham in the future when it comes to a critical offseason, man, where you got to have so much retention? It starts with Barry, Pickett, Kern, but for this one, Barry.
Look, that is why it's so important to get your coach in here now, and it's great that the portal is not until January.
Exactly.
And so that is really, really big. I've kind of felt, maybe you feel differently, and I'm saying this without knowing Caden Durham's personal life. I don't know if he's got a beautiful girlfriend from Louisiana and he likes going home to her parents' house in Lutcher or whatever. I'm just making something up, and he never wants to leave here. I have no idea. But I imagine if he got in the portal, he would have a lot of opportunities.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm on the board right now where I think Frank is a great recruiter. I think that there are going to be some things from a talent evaluation perspective as a whole, and not specifically pinpointed on Frank. I think it's a mixed bag. I think some people want him, some people don't. I'd love to have Frank on this staff. But I think Caden and Harlem are very important to keep on this staff, on this roster. But if Caden entered that portal, he's going to be one of the hottest names on the in the damn portal. I mean, everybody's going to want him.
Well, here's the thing. Preseason, before we thought BK was going to get fired and we'd be in this situation, LSU was going to go on the portal and get 2 running backs on top of Barry and Caden. So,
but does that say anything to their talent, or does that just say to the lack of depth that you have behind them?
I just don't see Harlan Berry going anywhere regardless.
I don't either. Let me make that abundantly clear too. I don't think Barry's going anywhere.
He's a star here.
Correct.
And I can make the argument that he is LSU's top returning offensive starter next year.
I don't.
He'd be the one. He'd be the one I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, I don't think that's the debate. I think the jump that Barry can make from year 1 to year 2 is higher than a lot of players we've seen come through this program in a while, in my opinion. Just because you give him 10 more pounds, I mean, Mike, it's going to be scary as hell. I think Harlan Berry
and the NIL that you NIL him up accordingly.
Correct.
And that's already probably, I'm sure, in the works.
Well, would you think that that would impact Caden Durham at all? Is this a guy who wants to be, let's say, a 2-back when you know that Harlan can be pretty much everything that he's been hyped up to be to this point? You think he'd want to hit the portal?
Yeah. Look, man, Caden Durham didn't have the year I thought he was going to have. I thought he was on his way to being a first-team All-American. I really did. And then wondering, you know, how much Harlan Berry would even get touches this season. But man, you can say the same thing about Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton and a bunch of others. It's just been nobody on that side of the ball had the season that we expected. Trey'Dez Green's season was awful. I mean, what's his total numbers right now?
I'll tell you.
Say nothing about all the drops he's had in the last month. And he's a stud, right? Aaron Anderson's a stud.
28 receptions, 323 yards, 5 touchdowns. Granted, there are some issues here where he wasn't getting the ball maybe when he should have. But, of course, I mean, when we're going into the season, we thought that Trey'Dez Green was going to be this guy who pretty much led the receiving corps in a lot of different statistical categories. I think Trey'Dez Green is a guy that you obviously have to keep. When you talk about your top offensive returning players that you got to retain, it's definitely Berry and Green being 1A, 1B.
American Patriot nails it with a super chat. He says Kiffin makes Berry. We're not even factoring in.
Yeah.
Everything must be, oh, you got to have Frank, you got to have Corey Raymond, you got to have Moffitt, right? What about the fact that these kids' eyeballs are going to get this big, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, because it's Lane Kiffin's offense?
That's the nail on the head right there.
Doesn't that just end all that on the offensive side of the ball?
I know we're sitting here. Well, I am, maybe not you, but I'm sitting here saying, you know, if Frank isn't retained, how do these players react? Yeah, I mean, that comment or what you're saying right there is money. I mean, you have these offensive players that would want to play in a Kiffin system if everything gets over the finish line. Yeah, I mean, there's not much.
After what they just dealt with this season?
Right. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
They got to be foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yep. All right, I got a couple more bills to pay. Need to talk about Alumni Hall. You see it right there on the screen. They've got all the great polos. They got quarter zips, all the new hoodies. Just great stuff from all the top brands: Johnny O, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, Nike, Champion, and much more. Perkins Row, or you can shop online at alumnihall.com/LSU. And I have the discount code to share with my friends and subscribers. So when you shop, use the code TigerBait, all one word, TigerBait, in store or online, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. Go shop with my friends over at Alumni Hall and use the code TigerBait to save. And again, free shipping on all orders of $99. And knock out your Christmas gifts. I mean, if you're buying for Christmas, most of the folks in your family are fellow LSU fans. Knock it all out. And what's great is even if you live on the other side of town, I mean, sometimes that's an hour and a half round trip to get from one side of Baton Rouge or Prairieville to the other. Just order it online. It's going to ship to you from the Baton Rouge store, and you're going to get the next day anyways. And need to talk about Capital City Grill, that great brunch over there. Go over there and try it. Trust me. I got one of our viewers sent me a message a few hours ago saying that he was there this weekend and had a great brunch. And he did get the carrot cake, and he said it was everything that I said it was. 100 Lafayette Street, downtown Baton Rouge. And just a fantastic brunch from 11 to 2. And as you know, they've got the typical great lunch that you probably have had many times, Monday through Friday, also on the weekends. Great burgers, club sandwiches, French dip, the seafood pasta. It's just a great place to dine. Again, Capital City Grill, 100 Lafayette Street. Please tell them TigerBait sent you in. Guys, if y'all enjoyed the show, please hit the like button. And anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No,
Zack?
man. You got one more super chat right here.
Go ahead.
Address that real quick. What's the feeling right now? Leader for Lane Kiffin. I'll let you hit that one and I'll follow you up.
I'm all LSU, and I'm kind of like Preston. If it wasn't Lane Kiffin, I'd be at 90%, 95%. But because it's Lane Kiffin, I'm at 75. I'm going to go a little bit higher than him. I'll go 80.
And that's what I said in the press box on Saturday. People were asking about it, and they were like, what's your percentage? And I said 80. And it's the reason why I'm not sitting at 99-ish is because it's Lane. You never know what's going to happen with him and Jimmy Sexton. It's a unique situation. We'll see how it unfolds, but I'm sitting there right there at around 80. And then last one for you right here. In the extreme off chance Kiffin's not the guy, how long will it take LSU to hire the next guy on the board? Mike kind of hit on that earlier, saying it's not necessarily Kiffin or bust, but Kiffin is that top guy by a wide margin. You got anything else on that?
Adam, look, if LSU, it all depends on when LSU realizes there's some funny business going on. But I imagine pretty darn quickly they will move on their next choice. I have a hard time believing that the next head football coach at LSU is not rolled out Monday or Tuesday of next week. Right? I just don't see it.
I don't either.
I think that, yeah.
I don't either. I'm right there with you. I mean, there's no reason to even explain that. I do think hovering around this time next week, we'll be getting ready to go into that Lawton room and starting to get ready to talk to a next coach, whether it's Kiffin or not. Obviously, you and I are sitting here pretty confident in our stance on that front right now. Today being Monday, things can change. That's why we're at about 80%. But yeah, I definitely would sit back and think that they're going to make a move on this. The early signing period starts next week. You know, you want to have somebody pretty much locked in by then. We're on the same page on that. I don't think they'd move.
I'm going to ask you this, Zach.
Gotcha.
And because talking to my guy that covers the Florida Gators, I asked him last week, I said, man, which media guy in your market is going to take the biggest hit when Lane Kiffin is not with the Florida Gators? And he said, all of us. And wouldn't the same be true here in Baton Rouge, Zach?
Yeah, I think if it's not Kiffin, yeah. I think
there's going to be there's going to be two furious fan bases out there. Two furious fan bases.
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss is going to be off the chain. I mean, we've already seen the buttons that they've made, right? You seen that tweet?
Yep.
I mean, they're already furious in Oxford, and I don't blame them. They have every right to be. But yeah, it's going to be interesting next week, Zach. And again, though, I feel like something is going to get rolled out. Do you think it gets past Friday night?
No, I don't. And honestly, I don't want to sit here and give people false hope. I'm not quite sure it gets to Friday. Like, it would be hard for me to believe that it does get to Friday. But if it does, there's no way that this thing drags into Saturday where that quote unquote decision day is. I think that things would start to leak out by Friday night, like you and I were saying before. No doubt.
Zach, I think the only way it leaks out before the Egg Bowl is if the third party, the school that knows they're not getting him, lets it be known.
I'm with you. And that's part of one of the reasons why I'm on that page. So, yeah, you're right on the money, Mike. And then, again, we got one more. Thank you right here, S. Young. You've been pretty generous tonight. Appreciate you. Dillingham's the Jay Johnson of football. Man, this guy is so high on Kenny Dillingham. I'm right there with you. This is a guy that I think is up and coming. I'm excited to see ultimately where he lands if he departs Arizona State. Don't think it'll be this year, but I think a team's going to get a good one in the next couple of years if he leaves.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for all the super chats. Zach, thank you for a great show. And congrats to Preston and Alyssa on a new baby girl. And stay tuned. I don't know when I'm going to do it. Buddy's out this week for sure, but I'm going to try and sneak in some sort of show, some sort of line-out show before the end of the week. It's just no way we can go all week with all this stuff going on without another show. So I'm gonna figure out a way to wedge one in here. It'll be pretty laid back, but if either way, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your loved ones, and we'll see you on the other side. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Good night.